My name's Michael, and I'm originally from Arizona. Every year I go to New Mexico to a Native American reservation called Dulce, because that is where my father and family are from, us being Native American. One year on my visit, I had a night that may not be a scary experience for some people, but I still question to this day. When I go visit, I stay with my grandmother there, who lives pretty far from the town into the woods. She lives with my aunt and her 3 kids. Her house is pretty isolated, so for any guest to be there would be highly irregular. One evening, we decided to go eat at the casino in town. On my way there, I asked my grandmother if I could sit in the bed of the big truck that they own, because I always found that to be the most fun part of the truck. Her, only seeing me once a year, said of course. After dinner, we were getting ready to head back. Of course, very cliche, it was dark and raining. Me, being the dumb kid that I was, asked again if I could sit in the bed of the truck. My family was a little hesitant to say yes, but I convinced them to say okay. They gave me a blanket to keep myself warm. On our way back, I immediately realized my mistake. In the back of the truck on our way back to the house was a terrifying sight. All I could see was the dark trees around me and a little bit deeper into the woods, whenever a flash of lightning would appear. I'm not sure whether I really saw this because of how young I was at the time, but like in the horror movies, I looked to the side of the truck into the woods when lightning struck. I could swear I saw what looked like a huge person standing next to one of the massive trees. It was a bit taller than half the size of the trees being pretty large in size. I don't know what I saw, maybe it was Bigfoot, which some of the locals claim to see every now and then, but maybe it was nothing. As we got to the house, we see that the power has gone out. Again, I know, very cliche. So we take this opportunity, being natives with lots of stories to tell scary stories. At about 11, I decide I had enough of the stories and we all go to bed. Me being freaked out, my grandmother gave me a huge bulk flashlight to keep my cool. About an hour later, everyone was asleep. Also, since I live deep in the part of the woods, they tend to not lock their doors, not seeing any reason to. However, I'd beg them to lock them just to make me feel safe. So to give a visual of the house, it is just a rectangular cabin-looking house that is pretty small in size. In the room that I sleep in, when you take one step outside the room into the hallway, straight to your left was the door that went outside. The door is literally 3 steps from being able to go outside. The bed inside the room was placed under a window, right next to the door that led outside. There was literally only a thin wall between my bed and the door leading outside. So back to the story, I was laying in bed playing with my awesome huge bulk flashlight. From where I was laying, the light from the flashlight was shining outside the window. At around 12:30 a.m., when everyone was definitely asleep, I heard a tap on my window. I froze. I heard it again. Tap, tap. I turn off my flashlight. Then one last time I hear a tap, tap. Then about 2 minutes later, I hear someone trying to open the door that is a wall away from my bed. This goes on for a good 3 to 5 minutes, but it felt like forever. I was praying that someone would hear it and help me do something, but nobody came. The next morning when I was telling my mom about it, she thought it was just my imagination, or just the wind. I still go back yearly and not really afraid of anything, but I will always remember that one night. I love to run. I live in the suburbs of Philly, so there are lots of trails and parks. I take my Boston Terrier with me. She makes me feel more secure when I'm alone, even though she's only about 30 pounds. We do farlek, which is Swedish for speed play. For those of you that don't know, it's a form of interval training on varied terrain. It's good for running with my dog because she has a short nose, she's sensitive to overexertion, and I don't want her to have any breathing issues. We were at a park on a warm fall day. We had stopped our run and I was standing in a remote wooded area so she could sniff. I could hear some people through the trees playing softball, the dull echo of an aluminum bat and people shouting. My dog sniffed around about 5 minutes, when she lifted one front paw with a woof. I looked in her direction and saw a man through the trees. He has his back to me, but I could tell he was Caucasian with short dark hair and wearing a white t-shirt and basketball shorts. I assured her and moved along, but my dog kept turning around and looking at the man. Or planting her feet in the ground, hackles raised the entire time. Pulling her along, I noticed the man jogging alongside of us. That was particularly easy to do since he wasn't running on a defined path, and there's high brush, poison ivy, and thorny multiflora rose plants in the woods. I'm a naturally paranoid person, but I rationalized maybe he had a dog off the leash somewhere, or was geocaching. But he took all the same turns parallel to the path for a good half-mile, keeping pace with us the entire time. We came to an area where the trees thinned to meet the curve of the trail and the man was closing in on us. I wanted to pass him before we would intersect. I'm a little self-conscious, running astride others. My dog loves people, so I didn't want her to get too excited and startle him. Plus, when she sees other runners, she won't chase them, but gets convinced she's in a race with them to be first. She still had her hackles raised and wouldn't stop turning her head to stare at the man, no matter how fast we ran. Finally, the man picked up a burst of speed and darted out in front of us and stopped. He pivoted his face to us. His arms were covered in scratches and rashes, probably from the plants I mentioned. That's when I noticed his junk hanging out of the waistband of his shorts. My dog went apeshit, barking and growling like I've never seen her do before. He looked at me with a sickening grin and said, "Be careful, there are animals in these woods," and ran back into the woods in the opposite direction, the whole time laughing like a hyena and dong flapping against his legs. My dog was still barking up a storm and tried to pull her after him, but I noped in the opposite direction back to my car. I never reported it to the police just because I didn't think there was much they could do, but next time, I'll make sure to listen to my dog. This is going to be split into two experiences I have had in California, and I still live there. I was 11 when the first event happened. It was brief. Just to give a description of what I looked like when I was 11. I'm female somewhere in the 5-foot range, long light brown hair and dark brown eyes, and palish or tannish tan skin. My middle school does not give bus rides no matter how far you live. There was 2 ways to enter my school. The back fence gate, which is pretty hard to see at times, or the front entrance to the school. I take the back entrance as it is closest to my home, so I was late the day it happened. And there wasn't really anyone around. So I was walking, and then a guy in a yellow school bus pulls up next to me. The doors open and there was a man. No other kids. He was a man in his middle 60s or 70s, I think. He had gray hair and a gray beard. When he opened the door, he signaled me to get in. I speed walked to the gate as I was close to it. I was pretty sure that I'm pretty street smart back then, and I knew for a fact that my school did not have bus services. Also, I was on the damn street. Though me being a bit stupid, I did not tell anyone. I never saw this guy again, and I hope I never see him again either. I do not know of any disappearances that are involved with what happened, as clearly this guy did not work for the middle school I go to. The second event was brief like the first. I was asleep. My window faces an alley. It was a wire screen at the front and glass sliding windows, which are pretty hard to move. And then there are the crappy blinds that are really useless. The window was open this night, and I had woken up in my room for some strange reason. I saw that there was a man staring in my window, but when I woke up, he just walked away. I'd like to say I never liked my room because I've always gotten creeped out. That goes for about any room in the dark for that matter. I usually have to keep a light on, to dismay of my mother, and I have a very active paranoid mind. So any noise in the night, I sometimes usually overthink it, and that keeps me from sleeping. The light solves it, and yes, I'll sleep with the light on, even at age 12. But I now have to sleep in the living room because my fear and paranoia have gotten that bad for me right now. I'm open to suggestions on how to overcome this problem. I'm afraid I might have nycophobia, which is the fear of the dark, which may have caused insomnia. I don't know. I'm just thinking of theories these days. I think I'm not really afraid of the dark, more of what is in the dark and what could happen in it. Please, I don't know what to do with this problem. Thanks for listening to the video, guys. This is the Sinful Savant. Make sure to comment, share, like, and subscribe, and join the Sinful Nation. Thanks again for all your supportive comments and all your kind words, guys. It means everything to me. Make sure to email me your true scary stories and personal life experiences. My email is in the info box below. So until next time, guys, stay sinful.